Look, you can't just keep ringing me and bullying me on the phone. I know I'm an Xbox fanboy, I know it, okay? I'm trying to play PlayStation exclusives, I'm trying my best. Okay, Mom? What's the crack, guys? Petso here from Allcast Irish Gamers, and welcome to another review. This week we're checking out God of War. Before we get started, I wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who watched the previous video. It was Spider-Man. It was really good. I enjoyed making the video. A big shout out to the arcade.ie for actually sharing out the video as well. I really appreciate that. We're going to check out God of War. As everybody knows from the last video, I am an Xbox fanboy. I love Xbox. I love everything about Xbox. But I bought myself a PlayStation 4 Pro and was to test out and see all these exclusive games that people kept telling me.
You need to play these games. You're missing out on all these games.
So we're going to check out these games. So let's check out today's game, God of War. But my first impressions of God of War, and I mean this is when I switched the game on for the first time and played through the first couple of minutes of the game, I thought it was a hack and slash game, and I really hate hack and slash games. But I was, within half an hour, I say to an hour, I was completely wrong, and the story really started and the gameplay opened up a little bit more. And then now that I've completed the game, I can say that it's by far from a hack and slash game, because you end up unlocking so much different things to do, so much different movesets and skills and things like that. You actually forget to use half of them. But my very first impression was, oh no, not a hack and slash game. So we kind of mentioned this already in my first thoughts. It starts off as a hack and slash type game. You're pressing the same two buttons over and over again, and it does slowly get more advanced and more interesting. You start off with the axe, and the axe is fantastic. It's like Thor. You throw it, you can call it back, it'll hit enemies on the way back. There's a whole skill tree around the axe to unlock more moves, to get more creative in the fights and stuff like that as well. It's absolutely fantastic. About halfway through the game you unlock the chain swords, and they have their own skill tree, as well as your son, the boy. He has his own skill tree and his own moves that you can access as well, and it just is fantastic. Your shield has its own move list and skill tree and everything to unlock, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and the fights just get so much more fun when you can start kind of connecting all these weapons together. And for the last fight you have to use these weapons at different times and stuff like that. It makes it a lot of fun. An issue I had with the fighting was that all the enemies in the game are really, you just fight them over and over and over again. You fight the same guys you fight at the beginning of the game, you are still fighting them at the end of the game. The first boss you fight against is this giant troll. You then fight different coloured trolls throughout the whole game. I'd say there's about 7 or possibly 10 different enemies in this entire game, and it would be my only nitpick is that it gets boring fighting the same things over and over again. Yes, sometimes they have swords or two swords or shields. Sometimes they might throw spears or fireballs and stuff like that at you, but it's still the same bad guys over and over and over again. It gets quite dull, and I think different villains and different bad guys would have opened up a little bit more lore around the world. Like, even though you're traveling to different worlds, still the same villains are in every world. For me, I hated looking at the same boss fights, the same bad guys over and over and over again. I was just wanted something new to come out of somewhere, so it's my one nitpick. So the story, let's check out the story. The story is by far the greatest thing in this game, and I can't even flaw. I'm trying my best to find a flaw in it some way or in some shape, because I love nitpicking on things, but I honestly can't. I loved it from start to finish. It starts off, and I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't played it, but it starts off where your wife has died, and it's just you and your son, and Kratos doesn't really like his son. I think that's fair to say, and his son doesn't really like him. As you progress through the story, you find that he doesn't like his dad either, and they have to come together to kind of defeat the bad guys, I suppose, and they've got to find some kind of common ground. And this relationship, as it builds throughout the game, you really do kind of want them to get on. You want them to see eye to eye and work together, and it's fantastic. It's brilliant. It's put together so well. I feel like if I explain the story anymore, it's just going to ruin it. You have to experience it for yourself. This is like a movie. This is the first game cinematically is done beautifully. All the little stories involved with, say, Freya and Baldur, it's all fantastically done and woven well together, and I think you have to pick it up. Either watch someone on Twitch play through the whole game, pick it up yourself and play it, or there's a video on YouTube that has all the major plot points and storylines in it. It's like 7.5 hours long, but you will not be disappointed. I should also mention that the villain, Baldur, I think is how you pronounce the name, apologies if I did it wrong, but he's brilliant. He is absolutely fantastic. He steals the show for me. If I'm going to be nitpicky, I think he disappears for a big chunk of the game, where we don't even hear from him or see him too much, and I thought that was kind of strange. But the first fight at the beginning of the game, that one that like really, like, wow, it's just amazing. He starts this massive big fight with Kratos right outside their front door, and it's brilliant. It's like watching Superman versus Zod. He's like punching each other through cliffs and trees, and it's just fantastic to watch, and it's great to be a part of, because you get to press a few buttons every now and again, but it's just awesome. And his actor plays him so well. So as well as the main missions, there is a ton of side quests. There's loads of armor to craft, treasure maps to find hidden treasures, there's hidden fights. You can fight the Valkyries, they're nearly impossible to beat. The game is packed to the brim with lore. There's so much storytelling going on in the game, it's fantastic. Even Kratos finally tells a story at the end of the game, which is like, he's bad at telling stories and he finally tells a good story at the end. The lore is fantastic, it will keep you absolutely hooked. I ended up, when I was going into the Serpent's Mouth, which is towards the end of the game, I found myself going around looking for side quests and more better armor and stuff like that before I went down, because I didn't quite want to say goodbye to the game, and I had a feeling this was the end of the game was coming up. The last thing I want to mention when it comes to story is the camera. I can't remember any game that uses just one camera the entire game. When a cutscene starts, the camera just moves off the over-the-shoulder view and goes into the cutscene and rotates around the characters and that, and then it goes back to behind the shoulder again, so the gameplay can continue. It's just amazing to watch, and some of the scenes when you're on top of the dragon fighting, and some of the fight scenes and stuff, it's unbelievable how they did it, and it's so, like, you're just immersed in the action that's going on, and I think it's fantastically done. I think it's a masterclass in cinematography, and I think it shows how games can be like movie-esque and portray these fantastic stories, and I just think it's brilliant. It's very well worth giving a lot of credit towards that, because it did a brilliant job. Okay, so graphics. The graphics were beautiful, just like Spider-Man. Absolutely beautiful. You can't fault the graphics. There was a few texture issues here and there as you were going through it. The big serpent, when he's sitting in the water and he's kind of sitting around, sometimes he looks a little bit blurry on the sides of him and stuff like that, but it was like Spider-Man. It was a really good, it looked beautiful. There were some fantastic shots and scenes in that. Again, the cinematography, I suppose, as I was talking about during the story section, it's just beautiful the way they've put it all together. It's really, really good, fantastic, absolutely amazing. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Okay, so I have never played God of War. I've never watched gameplay of God of War. I've never played it at events. I've seen it at events, but I've never sat down and actually picked it up and played it. I didn't know anything going in off the bat. I'd only heard things from my friends telling me, oh, you have to try this game, oh, you have to play this game. And you know yourself, when someone recommends something, you just never want to try it, because you know that they don't know what they're talking about. But one of my friends, Roger, actually shaved his head. He had a beard already. He wanted to look like Kratos after playing this game. So he was right. I have to say, he was right. It is a fantastic game. I highly recommend this game. Spider-Man was good, and I recommended anybody who hadn't played Spider-Man to get Spider-Man. If you had to choose between Spider-Man and God of War, if you had them both and you can only pick one, get God of War. God of War is fantastic. But let's get to the ratings. So gameplay, I am going to give this game 8 out of 10. And the reason for the 8 out of 10 is just the fighting. At the beginning of the game, as I said, it's a very hack and slash. It's not my style of game. It does get better as the game goes on, but I think the lack of villains and the lack of different style boss fights, just reskinned bad guys and grunts, and you're fighting the same things over and over again. It brings it down, the gameplay, a little bit. And so I'm going to give it 8 out of 10, and I think that's fair. It's still it's still it's higher, it's high, it's above average gameplay, like above average gameplay. Story is completely an easy 10 out of 10. It is fantastic. I've never played a game where I was so engulfed with these characters and wanting them to succeed and to get to know each other better, to get on together. And I know they're gods and it's not even like a real relationship, but you can't help but think about a father and a son relationship. It just brings that into it. I know people love The Last of Us, and that's a game that I'm going to have to review, but I've never played through that whole game. But I never liked the first half of that game I played, and I just think this just does it so well. It's brilliant. 10 out of 10 for the story, easy. The graphics is okay, and I wanted to score it like I did with Spider-Man, 8 out of 10. But I feel that camera angle, that one single shot camera angle throughout the whole thing, helped tell the story so well and portrayed the world so well. I'm going to give it 9 out of 10. I think it deserves a 9 out of 10. I wish I could rate the camera separately, because that would be a 10 out of 10 anyway. But for graphics overall, it's a beautiful game. There's no moments where I went, what the hell is that? It's just beautiful, and I think that one single camera is just fantastic shot. So yes, 9 out of 10, easy. Okay, so overall, I'm going to give the game, and I've put a lot of thought into this. Originally I wanted to give it a 10 out of 10. But you know what, I think a 10 out of 10 game has to be like just perfect, and it has to have no faults, or you can't pick anything out that you think is bad. So I'm going to have to give it a 9 out of 10. This is a way above average game. My only thing is the lack of enemies. If reskinned enemies is lazy, it's very Mortal Kombat 1992. You know, just reskinning characters. And I just feel like that let it down a little bit. But storytelling, if you were going on just storytelling, it's 10 out of 10 easily. You know, I just think it's fantastic. I just wish they had put more enemies in it. There's probably about 10. You could probably count them on enemies in the game, and that's not including the ones with different weapons, because that doesn't count. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you disagree with me or you agree with me, let me know in the comments down below. You can also message us on Facebook, Allcast Irish Gamers, Twitter, Allcast Irish G. Check us out on Twitch, where we're streaming these games while I'm doing the reviews. If you have a game you think that I should play, a PS4 exclusive game that you're like, you know what, he needs to play this game, then let me know. I want to know. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. Please do hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video, which will be Days Gone.